you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. Tell me, how has this week been for you?
Very busy between practicum and working full time and full time school and family obligations. I'm exhausted and busy and trying to find a break.
Yeah, all the above. That sounds really hard. You're kind of putting in all this effort, it seems, in multiple different life roles and multiple different areas. And it seems like it might be putting a little bit of pressure on you, huh?
Yes, a lot of pressure, to finish the schooling. I'm almost complete. Next May will be my graduation. But I've been going to school for a very long time because I didn't pick this up right away. I tried a
Okay.
different approach first, and wasn't my skill set, obviously. So here I am. But I am fortunate that I do have a good support system. So, and I do have a wonderful boyfriend who helps out around the house and cooks and cleans and does laundry. So,
That's amazing. I love that. Having a good support system, and congrats, by the way, for almost completing that after what it seems like a lot of stress that you've been carrying around for quite some times, right? Sometimes um, that kind of reaction, or sometimes others may have a different reaction. So for you to have a positive one, I love to hear that. And it's amazing being able to see that finish line, right?
yes, for sure. I've been going to
Um,
school for over 10
mhm.
years. So,
Wow.
ready
Yeah.
to be
So
done.
you got it. Quite some time carrying this stress around, and maybe even for some others, right? For that support system that have been supporting you throughout this time. Um, Tonight, are you open to trying something that might help us explore a little bit more on your stress?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is going to be called the float back technique. And basically, we're going to start with a recent moment. It could be from this week, maybe it could be from today. I'm not sure what your weekend has held so far, but it's going to be focusing around where you felt that stress or maybe that anxiety in one of these life roles. And then I want to see where your mind kind of drifts back to, it could be like an earlier memory that might feel similar, and then that will help us kind of understand where some of those feelings started.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Okay, so think of that recent situation that really brought up that pressure or maybe that panic. Again, it could be from today, it could be from this week, last week.
Actually, last week I had a supervisor at work um, basically attack me. Now I'm new in my job position,
Hmm.
um, so I'm still learning. And so he had come up and attacked me. I made three mistakes, but he didn't tell me about them prior to the third one. And he
Okay.
was very in my space. And so that made me very anxious and fearful.
Wow, that sounds really intense.
Yeah,
Um,
especially
uh,
when you're caught off guard.
Absolutely. And you're kind of just new and fresh into this position and this environment and setting, your coworkers and this supervisor, you kind of may have expectations or kind of know what you need in a supervisor, and that's not really
But he
what
wasn't
you
my
need.
direct supervisor.
Okay.
He's the supervisor of X-ray, but he's not my direct supervisor. But he never went to them either.
Okay.
Uh, so that was odd. But
Hmm.
yeah, and I thanked God that my other coworker was not in there when he did that because I would have been humiliated. I would have
Hmm.
humiliated, you know.
So tell me what you did feel during that time. You're telling me what you may have felt when your coworker was there, but what did you really feel?
I was in fear. I felt fear.
Just
Mm,
straight fear.
straight out
Um,
fear.
okay. Was it due to them like accusing you and kind of threatening, or was it their stance, appearance, approach, all the above?
Well, he came rushing into our office. He asked for me by name. And then he immediately was like, "Well, you've already made three mistakes," or including that night, I had made three mistakes. And so
Mhm.
on the inside, I was fearful, but I was very like, shaking. But on the outside, I was professional. I asked for the mistake,
Mhm.
other than the one he was telling me about for that night. He couldn't tell me. I don't mind feedback because I like to know when I'm not doing something correctly so I can change it. So because I
Right.
don't know, now I have a little anxiety because I can make that same mistake again. Plus, he was less than a foot away from me when he was like telling me, and I remember my eyes were just large like saucers. And I think
Mhm.
he saw that and he was like, "I'm not yelling at you," but in my brain, I'm like, "Yes, you are." There's ways of approaching me to teach me, and then you were just accusatory. He was just accusatory. But in my brain, I was like, "You're just accusatory," because I was, facing him. But yeah, it was quite something.
No, I agree. I can't even imagine being in your place and experiencing that. It sounds like a really difficult and tough moment. And it sounds like you kind of were able to gather some strength and coping skills to really maintain that composure and professionalism. Um,
It was difficult for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But that connection can make sense. Sometimes our bodies with that shaking and fearful, as well as if we've experienced something in the past that could be triggering, whether we are conscious to it or subconscious to it, we will always remember those feelings. Our body and our brain will remember that if we can't even be aware or realize it ourselves. And that pressure that you felt and that
Mhm.
the threatening and the approach that that individual took might kind of be echoing old fear, perhaps, because you mentioned fear as kind of the main feeling and experience, as well as maybe being judged like that accusation. Is
Yes,
that
there's
correct? Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, there's two things I could tie it to from, my past, of course. Um, the first being I'm a survivor of domestic violence, so my ex-husband, would beat me up and quite, regularly. So the fact that he was a male in an aggressive stance brought up the fear. But the other part is from my childhood where, my I would get A's and B's on my report card, and my mom and dad would be like, "Well, why didn't you go to all A's? Why didn't you, why weren't you the perfect kid?" You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so, um, yeah, I tied it to two different.
No, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. I was gonna say if you're not comfortable with sharing that information, that's okay. We could save that for another session. But I appreciate that. Being able to be aware of our past and how that can kind of become part of the present in some areas, whether we know it or not. It's good to make that connection. And you did great with this technique and this exercise today. I appreciate, your willingness to try it out and your opening and engaging conversation. I had a great time. But this work, it does take courage. So next time we can look at different ways to help you stay a little bit more present, feel safer in that environment going forward. I can't even imagine, going back to that environment after that, especially it being new and just all those feelings going on right now. So we'll help you feel a little bit more grounded when those feelings may come up again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that we are going to be doing this work together, and it's definitely a big step towards managing that stress differently or in a different, healthier way than feeling kind of stuck. You said like your eyes were kind of like a deer almost in a headlights. Yeah, we don't want you to feel that way anymore. We want you to feel
I
safe and
definitely don't
confident.
need the added stress with school and
Mhm.
work, family, and all the other things I have going on. It just so happened that I was tired, but I wasn't too tired to not keep myself together. Because if I get too exhausted, then I have no filter, and I don't want to be
Mhm.
that person at work. I don't want to be that person ever, but I definitely don't want to do that at work. So
Right. No, I like that you mentioned that that's good to know. A lot of people, it's not just you. A lot of people, when they're lacking sleep, can function very differently. They're angry, they're more irritated. They can even become more sad during different situations or conversations. So that's good. Maybe we can try and work on um, incorporating sleep as well into our plans, perhaps, since that's kind of mentioned here today,
Mm,
that would be helpful. Um,
yes, for sure.
yeah, no, especially juggling all these different things, right? It's
Mhm.
hard to manage time, be able to be present in the different areas and different roles. So, yeah, we're going to definitely work together to help you manage this and just feel a little less stress with what's going on.
Thank you so much. I definitely need the assistance.
No, it was wonderful to see you today, Sam, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.
It was a pleasure. We'll see you next week.
Okay.